My full name is by birth Robert Calvin Mckee Jr. I was born in Eureka to my mom, Barbara, who married my dad, Robert Mckee Sr. And their marriage didn't last that long. They were both young, and we ended up, my sister and I, moving down to the Bay Area in Berkeley, California. And we moved from one rented house to the other for quite a few years. And I went to school in the Bay Area until I only completed the 7th grade. And about halfway through the 8th grade, my dean actually suggested that I quit school, if you believe that. Her name was Mrs. Boxer. She's an awesome lady. And, you know, she said that thing where you're dancing to the beat of a different drummer. So then I went to continuation school, you know, where all the bad kids go, girls that got pregnant or whatever, and people that just wanted to get their GED. So I went to that school for a while, and it was just a half a block down from Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, where everything was happening. And it was kind of ridiculous because you could sign into class and then go shoot pool at Kip's Pool Hall. So, you know, I mean, I got started really early in a lot of stuff. And anyway, it wasn't long after that. I always wanted to be with my dad. I always wanted to make a connection with my dad. And it wasn't very long after that, I jumped out on University Avenue. Back then, people hitchhiked all the time. There'd be always a lineup of people at the bottom of University Avenue where the highway started in Berkeley with their thumbs out. And so I hitchhiked up to Whitethorn, and I ended up staying there for, you know, a long time. And so maybe I should back up. I had a good memories, a good childhood in the city, changing neighborhoods a lot, but really good experiences in Berkeley, California, and Oakland. I'd like to mention my good friend Marcus Tullis, who we were brothers. We were just like brothers. The first time I met him, he came to my door because he was our paper boy delivering the Chronicle. And there was a song in the background by Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman, and he was standing behind the screen door. The first time I ever saw him, and he was like dancing to this song, and my mom was going to get the money to pay him, and then we realized we had the same shoes and stuff, and we just hit it off from there on. He was probably my best friend. Anyway, I ended up in Whitethorn, and you know, let's see, I mean, that was like 69, 70, you know, every swimming hole was full of naked hippies, you know. I mean, I got a really good full dose of drugs, sex, and rock and roll, you know. I mean, that was pretty much it then, and I'm not, that kind of stuff, I gotta leave a lot of that out. It wouldn't be a good thing, you know, so I won't put that in here. But it was good. It was all part of the journey, you know. And when I was probably about 14 or 15, I think, my brother Sean, who was a little bit more of a savvy businessman than me, and he was making a drug deal, and I went with him, and we got busted. It was for like 4,000 hits of LSD, and we met the guy who was going to buy it at the Sherwood Forest Motel in Garberville, and a bunch of cops converged on us and everything. Long story short, we had it got tried as though we were adults and not minors, even though we were minors. And so we had a trial and a hearing, and in between those we decided, we knew what was going to happen. And my dad actually supported the decision because one of us was going to go to a youth home and the other one was going to, we're both getting taken away. So we decided to do the fugitive thing. And back then, some people may know Doug Furr. He went to South America also. He's one of the only people around here that I know that went in that group. But there was a guy named Crazy Richard who made the LSD that my brother was selling. And he paid for a big group of people in 2 different groups to go to South America. And our group, when we got down to LA to get on the final flight to South America, they wouldn't let us in because we only had one-way tickets. So Richard had to come up with the money for a round trip, and the cheapest one was back to Miami, Florida. So so my brother and I went down there. We were down there for about a month, and that was a really interesting experience for somebody who's like, 14 or 14, I don't know, maybe I was 15, but yeah, it was, I don't know how much time we want to take on this, but that was quite an experience. And then when I gave away all my clothes down there, everything, people would ask you down there, did you go to Woodstock, and I had Levi's and I had a pair of boots, and they really liked all that stuff, so I gave it to them. And I ended up with this pair of shoes that were like gum rubber with corduroy material on the top, and a pair of bib overalls, and I couldn't stand the bib part, so I just had a belt wrapped around it. And on our return trip ticket, we ended up in Florida, and I had $5. And we hitchhiked all the way from Florida back to California. And so anyway, I guess I ought to figure out where I'm at with this here. Back to Whitethorn, kind of hiding from the law. And it was still the same thing, just a lot of partying, just Strinsky's in Phillipsville. I mean, we just one party after the other. And so then I was traveling around a lot with a fake credit card and a guy and a woman and her child, and I never had anybody ever talk about Christianity to me. And then when I was in Eugene, somebody gave me a Bible and talked to me about it, and I had no feelings one way or the other about it. So I ended up having the whole Jesus movement thing, having a Christian experience, and it was probably, I would say, probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I was really kind of headed down a kind of a dark path, and at that point I kind of knew it. So I was probably ready for something like that. It was a really good experience for me, and I lived in Portland with some people in a Quaker church up there for quite a while. And then I have to say that when I was into that, I was pretty dogmatic, and there's people around here even that probably are glad I'm not that way anymore, and I am too. But I mean, that's just how I was. I was young, I had this experience, and it was a really good thing for me. But I kind of now take on a good friend of mine, Ram Fishman, said, I believe in freedom of religion and freedom from religion. And I embrace that. And my experience, I could never deny it. It was a very good experience, and still is. I still hold on to that very deeply. But I'm also all right with everything else. As far as people, spirituality and whatever it is, I totally am. It's all good.
Here we go.